The legacy media has no one but themselves to blame for their current reputation, famous for misrepresenting the facts, propaganda, and one-sided coverage. Their target is our friend, former trainer on the NBC reality show The Biggest Loser, Jillian Michaels, a show that was all about getting people to lose weight over 15 years ago. And now Michaels could reportedly sue Netflix over a new docuseries that essentially paints her as a supervillain who broke show rules by giving contestants caffeine supplements to help them lose weight. Here's a piece from the show.
People like making fun of fat people.
And producers love that. They were like, we want them to puke. We want the madness of it all.
I was given a caffeine pill.
My organs were literally shutting down.
You can't have a show based on weight loss that's safe.
I could barely walk, and I was in such pain, and they said, just walk it off, just walk it off.
Okay, joining us now for more, the host of the Keeping It Real podcast, former trainer on The Biggest Loser, Jillian Michaels. Good to see you. You've had quite a week, my friend. Wow.
I know. Some of the fights I picked, some of them I didn't. That said, I have absolutely been busy. I appreciate you having me on and giving me the chance to talk about it.
Explain this to me. 15 years later, I think the show got off the air in like 2011. Jillian Michaels, who's a Republican, is somehow evil. Can you explain that to me?
I do know that is the prevailing theory, that it's a hit piece out of the blue. I can't confirm it. What I can simply say is it does make excellent TV. It's very profitable. It's not new news. I was always the villain on the show. But the good news with the show is that they aired enough so that you could see at least both sides of the equation. You could see us being hard on the contestants. And you could also see why we were being hard on the contestants. This is absolutely a hit piece. There's no question. And I don't mind answering anything about Biggest Loser, what I did, why I did it. I'll debate it all day long. But what is not tolerable are the lies. And like, for example, that one contestant that says we were given caffeine pills, he was given those by the doctor's staff. I have the emails. So this is the part that I think they didn't anticipate, is I would have emails going all the way back to 2009. I'm not sure what else to say. It's kind of crazy.
I'm sorry. Also, The Biggest Loser started in 2004. That's more than 20 years ago. Times have changed a little bit, but it was your role to motivate these people who in some cases were morbidly obese to try and lose weight. We're talking about caffeine pills, though? Like, what?
Yeah,
who cares about caffeine pills?
Legal. They're not even actually caffeine pills. They were, back in the day, we used to call them fat burners. Today, we call them pre-workout. I have always believed in those kinds of supplements when you're working out, not even just to lose weight. They're great performance enhancers. They're great for boosting endurance, fitness, focus. So there are things that have capsaicin, which is basically chili pepper, that have green tea extract, that have Ceylon cinnamon to help control blood sugar, that have beetroot powder for the nitric oxide benefits. All legal, all safer than endless amounts of coffee.
I mean, you weren't like slipping them cocaine or like prescribing illegal Ozempic. We're talking about caffeine pills. I had a caffeine pill this morning. A cup of coffee. Just a cup of coffee, right? Do you think you're going to sue? Or is that just a threat, or you think you're going to do that?
We're looking at it. But it's really complicated, as I'm sure you can imagine, because you've got to look at case law. You've got to go back through every single one of my Biggest Loser contracts. This is what we're doing now, because if I had agreed to not sue for defamation, because you got to remember it was a reality show, if they licensed the footage, we're now wondering, does that agreement, does that contract pass on? So there's all these different legalities that I have a team of lawyers looking at. I'm also wondering, is this the best use of my time? Does it validate what they're doing? What's disappointing in this is that I actually worked my butt off on that show to help those contestants, and it helped a lot of people at home. And to have it absolutely smeared and distorted and manipulated is kind of heartbreaking. Time will tell on the best way to proceed, but I am looking at all the options.
Interesting now, just politically, where you are, and you're very open about that and being a Trump supporter. I always think that stuff's interesting. Okay, a week ago, I was on vacation last week, so we didn't get to talk about this, but this is fake controversy number 2, Jillian Michaels. You got into a heated exchange on CNN about exhibits at the Smithsonian Museum about slavery that teach just really one-sided history. Take a look.
You cannot tie imperialism and racism and slavery to just one race, which is pretty much what every single exhibit does.
Jillian, I'm surprised that you're trying to litigate who was the beneficiary of slavery and
I'm
who
not.
was...
Every single exhibit, I have a list of every single one. Like, people migrated from Cuba because white people bad. Not because of Castro. Yes, no, it's in there. That's what I'm saying. You don't actually know what's in there. When you make every single exhibit.
I want to go through some of these examples because they wouldn't let you on CNN. According to the National...
the white culture poster, please. That's a
we
real
have that. The National Museum of the American Latino. What unites Latinos is apparently Black Lives Matter, according to the Smithsonian. Also, that the Texas Revolution was a massive defense of slavery waged by white Anglo settlers against anti-slavery Mexicans fighting for freedom, not a Texan War of Independence from Mexico, which of course it was. Here's a portrait glorifying a family illegally crossing the border. So they're celebrating it, like this is somehow something to celebrate. Then you've got the pride flag right next to the American flag when you walk into the Smithsonian and the National Mall. No one mentioned anything like that on CNN, did they, Jillian?
Not only did they not mention that, the white culture poster is one of my favorites. It's where it says we're inherently aggressive and we have to win at all costs. What I actually wanted to address is that I had reached out to the comms team at the White House because I wanted to go into this debate fully armed and fully educated on what the administration actually took umbrage with. They sent me a 50-page document, and there was not actually one installation about slavery on it. So when I went to turn around and say he's not trying to whitewash slavery and list some of the things that you just mentioned, along with an exhibit that puts George Floyd, Che Guevara, and Jesus side by side to try to draw
that seems like a fair pairing. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, I think half of the country would find that blasphemous. I'm not a religious person, but I respect all my friends and the people who are, and I know they find that very offensive. Anyway, the long story short is none of the issues that the administration had was intended to rewrite slavery. Of course, Trump is like, can we
and
also
as a white
talk
woman
about...
and as a white male, we're not allowed to talk about race. If we talk about race, we're racist. I've only got 15 seconds left, Jillian. Do you think they were deliberately trying to make you look like a racist on that panel on CNN?
Completely lied. They absolutely lied. Abby Phillips says we were having a conversation about the arts. I'm like, no, you just called half the country racist. You made a Kim Jong-un reference to Trump, and you brought up slavery. And she continued to lie about different parts of what was in that segment. So it's absolutely intentional.
Have you been invited back?
I have not been invited back. I don't think that will be happening. But thankfully, we have Scott Jennings.
Yes, shocker. Jillian Michaels, great to see you again. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. We appreciate it. We'll pick this up soon. Thank you
for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.